to the No Life Digital podcast. Every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, we come at you with tech, gaming, culture, news. We get into it. We discuss. Today, we're going to go over the Canon R5 saga. The review is done. The saga has completed. We're going to go over that. We're going to talk about the new Note that has just been released. And then in gaming, we got some news for you. Big news. Epic versus Apple. We're going to discuss that. And then that's it. Let's jump into it. What's
we
up?
also skip every other Tuesday sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
On occasion.
If you're lucky, it comes out on Tuesday. We've been pretty good. Just last week. We were on a roll until last week. What's up, dude? We're doing tech first. We usually do gaming first, but I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to be checking this video out for the Canon R5, which has done really well on the channel. It's really jumped the numbers. And I wanted to discuss that before we get into any gaming. What you been up to, man?
Not much.
Enjoying
Working,
hockey?
Playing, doing jack shit.
Yeah. Same shit, different day?
Pretty much. We were talking about Tony earlier, so I just wanted to blow out everything in my image, but I'm sure Zoom killed it.
I really enjoyed his video. I thought it was pretty insightful. Let me make sure that we're even streaming on the right channel now. I thought it was pretty insightful, mainly because I had a feeling one thing that surprised me was that a lot of people decided to watch on their desktops as opposed to their phones. He said like 44% of his audience is normally on their phones, which is really
high.
Well, really low, I would say. My audience is like literally like 85-90% on their cell phone.
Well, no, that's why I was saying low.
Oh yeah.
Really high. I mean, I'm used to everything's on the cell phone or an iPad.
Yeah. Which was that? I mean, that was surprising. And then even then, going into
but it
how
was also, especially some of his stuff is the whole idea is of content, or like how sharp is this through YouTube compression? Not very.
Yeah.
But we're gonna try to judge it anyway.
Yeah. It was pretty fast. If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, it's the Tony Northrup did a video today where he did like a blind test. I took the survey when he did it on his he did it through his Twitter, and then posted up like these unlisted videos where you saw his comparisons. And I'm gonna be honest, when I did the survey, I was like, wow, I don't think anyone's gonna be able to tell the difference. There was somewhere, to me, it was clear, and I watched it on a 1440p monitor in 4K. There was somewhere I could clearly tell it was HD, but between the other ones, it was really difficult to tell what was 4K, 4K HQ, 8K, cropped 4K, cropped to 8K. So I was like, yeah, I think it's going to be pretty close. And then when his numbers showed, I think the big shocker to me was the 4K to 8K. I thought more people were going to be able to catch that, which there was a clear distinction. He showed like an image of his dog, and there was a clear distinction in the fur of the dog. And then the 4K HQ, 4K, nobody could tell the difference. He said 0%, which I wasn't too surprised by, but I was surprised that it was zero, that not even one person was able to tell the difference, which is pretty insane. So a pretty insightful little video there. And I was also happy to see that he called himself out when he called the standard 4K garbage, because that's what I was going on in my review. When I was talking about like some reviewers calling the 4K unusable, I was referring to Tony, and there was another video by, I can't remember the YouTuber, but he called it unusable. But I was also referring to Tony's video when he was talking about the 4K, and I was like, this is no way this is in any facet of the word unusable. You know what I mean? It's just that in what world is this 4K unusable? It's
partially been the YouTube standard for the last 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's standard. It's not like blowing you away 4K. It's not downsampled 6K or 8K 4K.
Right, but that's like saying that's living in a world where there's been a lot of content shot on the OSR for the last 2 years.
Yeah. I thought that was a really odd point. So that's one thing that I wanted to touch on in my review. And also I want to touch on in my review is mainly the usability of the camera the practicality of the camera. I wanted to kind of tell the story of the EOS R, because the EOS R kind of had the same fate as the R5. When it was first released, everyone harped on it for the lack of IBIS and for the lack of full-frame 4K, how the 4K was unusable. There's no way now you could ever use a 4K with this type of crop on it. And it was, in fact, a very usable camera, and there's a lot of proof through other YouTubers that switched over to the EOS R because of its handling, its ergonomics. Its flip screen was a major feature of it. The RF mount was a major feature of it. The 10-bit out of the HDMI was a major feature of it. It was just a really great camera. You also
have to factor in the fact that they really made an excellent 1080 codec.
Yeah, excellent 1080p. And it was around a great price. You can get them now for like less than $1,500 if you look. Which I would recommend. If you're thinking about upgrading to an R5 or an R6, think about the R first.
That's my opinion. That's how you've known this. I've been saying this for like a month and a half now. It's like I'm in the camp of I'd rather buy an R.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's such a badass camera for the price. It's really hard to beat, especially if you want to get into RF mount, which is expensive. So if you have if you're coming from another system, unless you have like 10 grand to drop on a camera system, because you're gonna need I wouldn't ever recommend the R6. You kind of should get that out of the way, just because there's no modes currently. That could change in firmware updates, but there's no modes currently that don't overheat in 4K. So I wouldn't even question that as a hybrid camera, unless you just want to use it for photography or just want to run it with a Ninja. But other than that, you have the R5, which is $38, almost $4,000. You have to buy a CFast or a CF Express card with it, which is another fucking $500. And then you're going to need an RF lens. And maybe you're going to get one, maybe you're going to get two. That's another few grand right there. That's like a $10,000 investment into a new system when you can spend, $1,500 on an R. You can get really good video. You can get like the 24 to 105 for $1,000. And then you can slowly upgrade and invest into that RF mount until you're ready to jump up into the R5.
Or if you're not aligned either way, there's other options out there too.
Yeah.
It all depends really on what your use case is too. Like if you're doing just YouTube videos, buy an R. You can go with the R6. Yeah, I want to go with the R6. But R5, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. I want to do it. But it's a great camera.
I would only consider an R5 for someone who's already invested in RF mount, and also someone that is going to invest in RF mount. Like you love the mount already, you want to invest in it.
If you're a still shooter, 100% though.
If you're a still shooter, for sure. Mainly if you're a hybrid, because you can probably get. I mean, because like the A7R4 is pretty fucking good, and you could probably get that cheaper.
If you really want
it's a hard
true
sell.
Still shooter, though, the true still shooter, Fuji.
Well, if you want a crop, if you're a crop shooter.
Yeah, fuck you. Go with the crop. Fuji love. I'm still standing my Fuji, dude.
I will say though, if you're an image quality stan, if you want like the best of the best, hybrid, just hybrid, not a full photography, not full videography. You do both. You do a lot of content. You're going to shoot a lot of 30 frames or 24 frames. The R5 is really difficult to beat. I don't know what camera would beat it currently. The A7 S3 is the only thing that comes close, but that's not a hybrid. It's a videography camera. It's in its own world. Like in my opinion, it's in its own class. The only thing that would compete against the R5 would be the new A7R5 or the A7R6 or the A7 IV, whenever that is to be released. And we're talking about cameras that don't even exist yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that I wanted to weigh in my review, because there was a lot of discussion from reviewers about what the camera couldn't do. It doesn't do 4K HQ. It doesn't do 8K. It doesn't do 4K 60 indefinitely. It doesn't do 4K 120 indefinitely. That all remains true. It's not really that type of camera. It's really just like the all-in-one Swiss Army knife hybrid for someone that wants to invest in RF mount. And I do think it's a smart decision to look into the RF mount. Someone says, unusable gets, Dad Talks Tech, unusable gets clicks. That's very true. I was considering renaming the title of the video, quote unquote, the unusable Canon R5. but I went against the clickbait there. What you said in your last video about the R, everyone hated it, then all of a sudden was jumping on it at the end of its life. The R made me want to shoot. It was just enjoyable. Feeling the same way about the R5. The R5 is definitely that. It's definitely like an inspiring camera. When you get it in your hands, you get the same sort of like feeling from the R. It's just so playful. You want to get in there and just start using it. For some reason, Sony hasn't quite captured that. I think Fuji does a good job of that. But like Panasonic and Sony just don't have that feeling about it. And I don't know what that is.
Are you talking like straight ergonomics body feeling?
I don't know. Not even just
like,
that. Like even when you pick up like a Canon like Mark 6, M6 Mark II or something, like you just want to just play with it. You just want to turn it on and just start filming things.
Yeah, that I get that feeling a little bit about Canon. I'm not as in love with Canon just because some of their bodies are still a little bit too big for me for talking mirrorless, because I went straight into the mirrorless camp after DSLR days of the 2000s. You know what I mean? I do like the smaller bodies. I hate Sony bodies though.
Yeah.
And I wish Sony could figure it out, because I'm sitting here like, dude, Fuji bodies are still king to me. The only thing wrong with a Fuji body is the grip's too small. But if you throw a small bottom cage on it and actually give yourself a solid grip, it's love, dude.
Yeah, especially the XT4
and the Canon's close
with the flip screen. I think the flip screen does play a lot into it.
Oh, the flip screen actually massively helps. I do wish Fuji finally did it before the XT4.
Yeah, but they
have
have the XT4 now, which is great. And also it is smaller. Where Sony, and I'm curious, dude. I'm curious to know if the A7S III is going to have like that fun feeling to it. Because I'm definitely planning on getting that camera in as well.
I don't know, because like I said, I don't really like the A7S III. I hate that body, if I'm being honest. I really don't like the feel of it. It's a little bit too small for me versus how big the grip is, and I don't think it has that balance that like my Fuji does, or like a Canon does. But I still think I can use them. They're totally usable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know that this one's a little bit I know this one's a little bit deeper. The A7S III.
Right, it's a little bit deeper. What I'm really interested to see is they finally fucking moved the record button.
Oh,
how much is that actually going to help? Because that was always the big thing too with like the A7 III, was just like, I don't want to like secure like weird claw grip to even just record stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a weird intangible thing that comes with those systems. Like to me, when I get a Canon in, it does like breed creativity. Like you just want to go and use it. The same with the Fuji system. I don't get that way with the GH4. I don't get that way with any of the Sony bodies. Maybe the RX100 is probably the best. And I'm thinking like it's really just the flip screen that kind of plays into that. But the GH4 has a flip screen, and I don't really get it from that either. Nonetheless, there's a lot.
The GH4 I kind of get it with, but
I'm not a micro.
Again, still too big.
Or an APS-C guy.
It's for me personally, but that's my subjective take on it, where it's just like,
it is
all right, if I'm shooting micro four thirds, I want it like I'm in love with over there I got a Fuji X-T30. It's the ultimate travel camera because it's a tiny crop sensor, but the fact that an X-T30 is like the size of my fucking phone, it's barely bigger than a ZV-1 pretty much, or an RX100.
Yeah, it's tiny,
but it still has all of the controls, and it's a 1.5 crop APS-C. Like that's what I want out of a small body, and it's weird cropping even more with the GH5, and it's as big as a DSLR.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that plays into it. Also, I wanted to kind of touch a lot on the codec, like the video codecs, and how I think they look great. Also, in the Atomos range, that I really think if you're thinking about the R5 currently, firmware 1.0, this could all change with the next firmware update or firmware updates in the future. But currently, firmware 1.0, I think if you're thinking about the R5 as a true hybrid, like you are going to shoot a lot of video with it, I think you should invest in an Atomos. I really do. Plus, the Atomos is going to come with you. You're going to be able to use it for any other camera that you're going to upgrade to. It is an expensive upgrade, but it's the same price as the CF Express, you know?
Okay, this is going to be my take on this, though, because as I've been saying here, I've been shooting Fuji. I have been living in that it's always better with an Atomos world for like 2 years now. There are downsides to that. So just be aware of that. And it is, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, because part of me does want to kind of go R5 or R6. Like R6 should be the camera I want, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so disappointing, that camera.
But I'm already living with the world of like, all right, so if I don't use an Atomos, I'm shooting 8-bit or 10-bit 420. If I use an Atomos, it's 10-bit 422. It's beautiful. Everything's lovely, you know what I mean? If I'm shooting video.
Yeah.
The problem with that is when you're working with the Atomos, it's great. If you're doing studio stuff like this, it's fantastic. You get an extra screen you can see yourself with, you know, you're getting better quality out of it. It's amazing. It is hella frustrating when I go on a walk through a forest and I'm sitting here like, well, shit, I have to intentionally choose to shoot 8-bit because I'm not going to bring my Ninja with me because I don't have image stabilization. So I have to figure out that's more important. I can't rig up a Ninja to just walk through a fucking forest.
Yeah.
You know
that's
what I mean?
why I
So
wouldn't. That's why That's why I don't recommend the R6 because you can't live that way without it. With the R5, you can just run it. You get the 10-bit internal, which is huge. You get the mean, the IBIS is so good.
I agree, and honestly, I think you can still get away with the R6 too. Because I mean, I'm doing that with.
So,
Fuji,
I don't know.
I mean?
The problem is that the cumulative use.
It's annoying.
Well, the problem
is an annoyance.
The problem is the cumulative use of the camera burns in that buffer, and I know that the same is this. I know it goes the same for the R6. So if you expect to do any sort of hybrid shooting, you're really not getting like a full 30 minutes in the 4K. You know what I mean, or whatever. It might be like 45 minutes. You might only get 10, 15 minutes. Like it's just too unreliable to take without a Ninja for 4K, which is huge. I mean, that's the camera that most people wanted. Everyone wanted the R6 to. That was it. That was the fucking camera that we were all gonna get. They fucked it up.
Yeah.
And they said, we're gonna push you to the R5, except now, you know, you're gonna get a bunch of features on top of it, but it's a much more expensive upgrade path, which I don't mind because I was gonna get the Atomos Ninja for the R6, and then when I found out that they always overheated, I was just like, I'll just upgrade to the R5. Fuck it, and I'm happy I did. But there is the asterisk that if you want to shoot like that beautiful 4K HQ file, the Atomos just opens it up because then you can also shoot 4K 60 unlimited. I mean, it just opens it up to a completely different beast, and that's why I really think
it's disagreeing with that, and it is a really good. It's a good solution. I'm just letting you know from my 2 years of living in that life, I guess, of just like, but the moment you don't have that fucking Atomos, you are going to feel like, fuck me, dude. It's totally still usable. You can still do great stuff without it, but it is just that like little gnawing I always have it's actively pushing me away from Fuji, honestly. Same with their autofocus of just like, it's just,
well, you have a kind of the X-T30 is pretty limiting of a camera for video. It's not,
well, it's that and the 3, but it's just one of those things where it's just like, it is a little bit of just like that. I can do really great things with this, but there's always just that little question of like, but it could do this. And it's fine, but after a couple of years, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm just like, I'm not going to sell this camera. I love this camera. It's a fantastic beast. You know what I mean? But I would only recommend it as a B cam. And I think that's where I'm starting to feel about the R5 for video is it's a B cam.
I would highly disagree. I would definitely say it's an A cam. It's just, if you really want to open it up, you can throw the Ninja on it. You could throw the Ninja on it, and then you can use that 4K HQ, and then the 4K 60. Now, if you're shooting like sports and you're always shooting 4K 60, then it's a $5,100 A cam. You know what I mean? If you're shooting, I don't know, any sort of like end finished like mastered work where you want like the absolute highest quality, you can get away with it. I mean, I wouldn't suggest it because then you're into like cinema pricing. But then again, there's nothing on the market that competes with it. There's really just, you have to, that's what it is right now. Until the Sony A7 IV comes out, which is going to come with, I'm assuming, a lot of the video features that the A7S III has, but also maybe a 20 megapixel
sensor. It's going to have everything
sensor.
But 4K 120, let's be real.
Yeah. And then maybe they even fucking put it in there. You never know. Like, Sony's crazy like that. And then it'll have the flip screen, and then that's going to be a camera to reckon with, and I don't know if Canon is ready for that type of camera to be on the market. Because currently, they are the flip screen. They're the flip screen guy. Only until the Sony A7S III has been released. Sony doesn't have flip screens. I guess the ZV-1. We have some questions in the chat.
No, and there was a couple I saw because Levi described my current situation perfectly of the dilemma of money not an issue. Really want to go Canon because RF mount, but hate the R5. Really like the 7S3, hate Sony glass.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough dilemma. That's a pretty tough dilemma. I think a lot of people think they hate the R5. I don't think the price helps though. I don't hate the R5. I just don't like the price.
It
is expensive. It's that, and I because it's in like its own class, I can see why it's so expensive, why they price it the way it does. I'm curious now.
And that's also me, and you know me, for the people who don't know me, I'm a mostly video person.
Yeah.
I do like, but that's also why I'm team Fuji for stills is I don't want to sit there in RAW with Lightroom and muck around forever. I just want a cool JPEG. It looks cool. We're good.
Yeah. I think I've been telling you this. The A7S3 is the camera you're gonna get. I can't recommend for anyone if you're looking for a videography camera. I don't see any reason to get anything else other than the A7S3 currently. There's just no reason unless
it's RF glass. That's the shitty part.
That's the only thing. The only reason is unless you don't want to use Sony glass, which isn't bad. It's just not. It's not the RF mount.
Right.
Which is doing some fun stuff.
That's my issue with Sony is I think their mount's almost too small because that's the thing I like about EF, and that's why all my Cine stuff's EF and everything like that is just, and why I buy a lot of vintage M42 and EF stuff is just like, cool. I want to be able to put this on fucking everything. I want to spend $2,000 on a lens and know, hey, for the next 20 years, this lens is going on everything.
By the way, if you guys are wondering, this is the R5 with the Sigma 35 1.4 on it. How's it look? Tony Northrup just released a video today. Yeah, we spoke about that. They couldn't tell the difference between 4K HQ, 4K standard. When I showed off the footage of me sharpening it in post, you just can't tell. You just can't tell. 99% of the work you're going to do is going to go up on YouTube. Even if you're sending it to a client, you're going to package it on YouTube or on Vimeo. You can't tell. You just can't. The only reason you would want that extra detail is if you are mastering the file or just because you want that extra data, like you just want to shoot into that extra, but you really can't tell.
It's going to be its own weird specific tool use case of because I think there are a lot of good use cases for the R5. I can see someone's going to try to make a cool movie scene where they're going to use the 8K. They're going to use a super wide angle lens. It's going to be in a car or something. You know what I mean? There is a lot of cool uses there where you're going to want to use a super wide angle lens, get really fucking close and try to use all that detail.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't rely on it though. At least until
no one's going to make a movie of just that is the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. When I saw Armando put up his 8K video, I was just like, oh my God, the workflow on that is probably so annoying. It's just so unreliable, man. Just don't
but the quality is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's out of this world. It really is out of this world. It's better than anything even in their cinema lineup because the resolution is so good. And the low light, it was so good, man. I didn't expect the low light to keep up with the A7S, but it does.
That's why I don't want to buy it. That's why I don't like it. It's because that's the world I'm currently living in of knowing half of the features on my camera are fucking phenomenal, but I cannot use them half of the time. And I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. Oh, something that I do want to get into. Let's Get Mark says, have you seen the latest EOS HD post? They put the R5 in the fridge. I haven't. Let me see it. Let me bring that up. But I do want to touch on he did do a post previously where he showed the temperatures from the EXIF files. The problem is there was other people that were showing that this isn't necessarily the case, where they were putting the camera in a freezer and they were essentially bypassing the timer and getting it in a much, recovering the full amount of time fully through temps only. So it's not the full story. These are just theories. So don't think that, everything is worked out here. And with the problem with this type of testing is all right, let's read this one real quick. Canon R5 overheated taking stills in my fridge just after 60 JPEGs. With just stills? Canon HQ. All right, I'm going to read this in a second. Hold on. This doesn't seem correct. If you can give me the summary so I don't have to read this entire thing. Give me the rundown. It says it's just taking stills and it overheated. I haven't had any of those issues. Camera idle. I think he might be talking about the buffer. And how the buffer is overheating.
I even want to go to this website.
Someone made a good point. They were like, yeah, I mean, you're going to get of course, the testing results favor exactly what you were looking for. All right, if you could give me the rundown on what exactly he's doing, because it looks like it's not like it. So he's shooting stills in the freezer, and then it's still eating into that buffer, I think is what he's saying. So you get 0 amount of time in 4K HQ and 8K. Is that basically what he's saying? 1 JPEG every 1 minute for 1 hour, then he could not record video. Yeah, that's the biggest problem with this camera is the buffer. They need to fix this buffer because it just doesn't make sense. I don't think there's an overheating, I don't think it's completely gated by time. Video? No, you can shoot regular 4K.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I don't care then. As long as you can still shoot the regular 4K, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I just don't want to spend $4,000 for that. That's my issue.
Yeah. No, and that's an issue that a lot of people are running into. I mean, that's an absolutely valid issue. That's why I really only recommend it if you're a hybrid shooter and you plan on getting a Ninja or investing in RF mount. Otherwise, just go with the R, invest in the R, and then you can upgrade maybe when the firmware is updated or cinema. What is he doing? Oh, thank you. My dinner's ready. No, you can leave it.
Okay, yeah, he did say it's only to the HQ, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's the same thing as the normal.
Yeah. So there's definitely some sort of bug going on with the overheating buffer, which I expect to be fixed because it just doesn't make much sense why the overheating buffer is taking so long for it to cool down. That just doesn't make any sense. But it is being bypassed by temperature. We saw someone do tests where they threw it in the freezer and then it only took I think 20 minutes. They got that entire time back. And that's kind of the thing that you gotta remember in this camera, the internal recording, just get it out of your head that it's 8K, downsampled 8K, 4K 120, get that all out of your head. And then it becomes, oh, this is an EOS R uncropped internal 10-bit with amazing IBIS and autofocus and an awesome lens mount with a great upgrade path because they're gonna have that C100R, that C200R down the line. And you don't have to worry about jumping into a new system when you're ready, and then you got another hybrid on your hands.
That's also why I don't think they're gonna fix it.
I mean, I think they're gonna have to because everyone's talking about it. My review is the only one that didn't focus on it, even though I was the one that put out that whole entire overheating, bypassing thing with the Atomos. Every other review, it's just like this camera is completely crippled by overheating. The 4K is completely unusable. You have to use 4K HQ. It overheats in 30 minutes. I don't think that that's the case with this camera. I think it's an awesome hybrid camera. It's just not. It's just for someone that's going to be ready to spend money on it.
I get that take. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get why that is the take, and it's one of those
Well, yeah, let me put it to you this way.
You got handed the keys to a Lambo, but you can only drive it at 30 miles per hour.
Well, let me put it to you this way.
That is a little bit of a cock block.
If it was the same price, but it was just 4K 30, 4K 24 standard, 10-bit internal, IBIS, autofocus, flip screen, do you still think that people would be disappointed in the camera?
Yes, because I'm pretty sure Sony's going to do that in a month and a half for about $1,000.
But we don't know. We don't have that camera. That camera's not out. It doesn't exist.
I think the pressure's on these companies. You know what I mean? Because that's the camp I am in. That's why I wanted the R6 to be good. Now I'm possibly waiting to Sony or Panasonic or something. Because I don't need any of this. I just want a 4K full frame 24.
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally it. That is still the camera I'm waiting for.
And anyone in the chat that's listening,
isn't $4,000.
If anyone's in the chat that's listening, get on Canon to fix the R6 because that's the camera. That's the 10 out of 10 camera that we all wanted. I mean, it's got 4K 60, it's got 4K 30, 24, it's got a flip screen, it's got the IBIS.
3 sensor. It's still an amazing image
and it's $2,500. But you just can't use it. You just can't shoot it in video. You have to put an Atomos on it. Don't think you're gonna get that camera without an Atomos. I don't want anyone to think that. Firmware 1.0, if that could change. But currently, that camera is going to be released soon. There's no update yet. There's no firmware update. you cannot use that camera reliably without an Atomos Ninja. So unless you're planning on investing in the R6 with an Atomos, then I wouldn't recommend it. So it's a software limitation, not a hardware limitation. Possibly. I mean, I don't know, because as we saw, like with my overheating test, it did overheat after 4 hours. It wasn't like it was just completely, software gated. And also, like I said, there are tests where people were able to bypass that timer by putting it in a freezer and cooling it down. So maybe there's like a lot of different things at work here. I'm mainly saying like it's more of like Canon conservatism being put in place. Like they really don't want you to hit that sensor at 60 degrees Celsius, which maybe is what it's rated for, or maybe it's rated for like 70 or 80 degrees Celsius, and they just are limiting the shit out of you. So they want you to be able to use the camera reliably for a longer period of time. Because that sounds more like Canon to me. That sounds more like what Canon would do, rather than them kind of just artificially. It just doesn't make sense, because what those limits do, because the idea is that Canon's limiting these cameras so you buy their cinema line or you buy a more expensive line. This is like their flagship line. You're not buying this. You're not getting this camera if you're thinking about getting a C300 or a C500.
I don't know if this is their flagship line, though, if I'm being honest.
Well, because for the mirrorless R, it is.
For the mirrorless, it currently is. That's how I'm feeling too at the same time, because when you go back to pre-launch hype, which I think a lot of the issues have been marketing to, there were still interviews with like Gerald Undone, example, CES last year. So this is a long ways away. You take it with a grain of salt, but it was when they started talking about the R5 and the R6 and the ideas that it is a 5D and a 6D.
Yeah.
They were still joking about there still might be a mirrorless 1D. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eventually in the future.
Yeah.
But for right now, I agree with you. This is it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we could see that. I think the sales would show it as well, because there's a lot of Sony shooters who came from Canon. When you start limiting your cameras, it doesn't make you want to jump to a more expensive camera. It just makes you want to switch to a different system. That's basically what I think. That's why I went to Sony in the beginning. And that's why I think a lot of Canon shooters did with Sony. They just weren't giving us the specs that we needed. They were limiting shit too much. They didn't give us the 24p for a while. You had to fucking cry to them basically for them to add that in firmware. That doesn't push you to want to spend more money in that system. But that's what I think. I mean,
how long did it take for the 90D to get 24?
Yeah, I think it didn't even release with 24, or maybe the I forget which did.
The RP took like 6-7 months, but if I remember,
think the RP
90D didn't even launch with 24.
No, I think it did. I think the RP didn't launch with 24, and then that was.
No, I don't think either of them did.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Yeah, but I think the 90D got it really quickly. They both got it at the same time, I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, it was something stupid like that. It was something stupid like that. And then I don't know. I just don't think that line of thinking
that pushes
works.
me away personally. That's why I ended up going Fuji.
I think it pushes
just it's like,
you don't want to deal with that. You're just stupid.
Yeah.
And I think Canon knows that. I just think they were like, look, we don't want their sensors to have any issues, because they do have like all that Canon servicing stuff. They don't want to pay for that shit. So let's just limit you hit the buffer, 10 minutes is fine. And then they just sent it out there. And it was the fact that it was rushed as well. The camera does feel rushed. There's no 1080, 120. There's no 4K RAW. Like, this is all stuff that's going to come in firmware. It does feel like they just wanted to get this thing out because the Sony A7S III was coming.
Lightroom's out now, though. That's cool.
Yeah, they did update the Lightroom, which I'm going to play around with later. But all right, anyways, the full sort of like spiel about the R5. I love the camera. I'm a hybrid shooter. I use these cameras for both photo, video. If you are a hybrid shooter, you're going to love the camera. If you are someone that doesn't really care about downsampled 8K, 4K, you're going to love the camera. If you are a straight videography shooter, I don't see why you would get this camera over the A7S III. If you're a straight, or even like a Blackmagic.
Rumors, the C100 rumors, but even
or
even that has been the camera that Wayne and I have talked about. Like, that's the dream camera.
Yeah, that's what we all
both wanted a 100 refresh for a long time. I don't know if I want it anymore.
Because it's 8-bit?
That's the issue I'm running into. It's like, I didn't think...
Because it's 8-bit?
For video... Huh?
Because it's 8-bit, or because the A7S III exists?
A7S III exists. that does make it harder at that price point.
Yeah, it does. The A7S, you're getting 10-bit intern, and this is just from the Rumors 100R stuff that we got, or it's technically the C200R or the CR200.
We just want a 100 refresh. That's all I've wanted.
I don't think we're gonna get it. I think they're just gonna go C200, $3,500, which is around C100 pricing anyway. This is not it, but this is the rumored specs. Where is it? Did you delete it? It's on here somewhere.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're a hybrid person, the camera's awesome. I'm just not a hybrid person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I don't know. Did he get rid of them? Oh, here they are. So this, let me ask you. See, it's the Canon Cinema EOS R200, Super 35 4K sensor, no IBIS, of course, RF mount, internal ND, C-Log 2 and 3, but it's 8-bit 420, 4K 60, 1080 120, no 4K 120, no RAW, $3,500. Does that still interest you over the A7R3? It's around the same price.
On paper, no. Honestly, I'm going to wait till this eventual camera releases. Because honestly, it also depends on how easy it is to edit the footage. What does the actual footage itself look like? But if you're talking on paper, there's a lot of benefits to it, but there's also a lot of benefits to the Sony.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough sell. That's a tough sell. The only reason, like I think it's cool.
8-bit and C-Log 2 and 3, like.
And see, like I don't mind that too much because it's going up on YouTube anyway, right?
Well, that's the thing is if it's going up on YouTube, I think there's a more reasonable argument there. For me, I'm trying to do mostly like weddings and actual just minor production stuff in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So it's not just I'm not trying to just think of is it only YouTube. And that's where that 8-bit might actually be better, honestly. If the image quality of the C200 is better, that matters more to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to, and it's $3,500 for a cinema body with an RF mount.
Right.
That's pretty badass. With autofocus,
like,
yeah.
That is still very tempting, but that is going to be the really cool video battle. Is that camera versus a full frame with RAW? And
then you have the R300. Which is Super 35 4K sensor, the same sensor as the C300 Mark III, no IBIS, RF mount, internal, C-Log 2, 422 10-bit internal, onto SD cards, 4K 120, 2K at 180, which is awesome. No RAW capability internally at launch, but that's $6,300. So it's about $1,000 more than an R5 with an Atomos bundle.
And see, for me, I would buy that way over the R5.
But would you buy that over the A7S III, is what I'm trying to say.
Possibly. I don't really know because I want to.
It's about double the price.
I actually want to see footage from it. On paper, I could be convinced to do that, but it's still it's still hard, and it still really matters on what the work situation is going to be. Yeah,
I think these cinema cameras are definitely YouTube, really interesting. Yeah, I think these cinema cameras are interesting.
For YouTube, the 200 sounds really interesting just because you have internal ND, but for if I'm going to take it to a wedding or something, like that can go both ways because I think internal ND is better. But if I have a customer that's never seen an internal ND, there is something to be said of throwing on a matte box and just being like, I'm professional.
Yeah, and like having that opposed to like an A7S III, it just looks cooler, you know. Plus you got the XLR ports. I mean, you got the whole, and like these are all just rumors. They could be cheaper. It could be, you know what I mean. It could have
this is all theoretical rumor.
I think that this is this is really what you're going to compare with the A7S III as opposed to the R5 because the R5 is a hybrid. It's mainly a 5D. It's a 5D. That's basically what it is. This is comparing the two it doesn't really line up. The R6, however, that's more of an apt comparison, and unfortunately, I don't recommend that camera.
I mean, I'm really interested to see what that goes. I'm obviously not rushing out to buy either of these cameras at the moment because I have a bunch of EF glass, which I really like, but the reason why I buy all the EF glass is literally for the purpose of not giving a shit what my camera body is.
Yeah. Hassan says, can HDMI transfer 8K externally? Not currently. I don't know. I think that this is an HDMI 2.0 port, but I could be wrong. But I know there's no way that the Atomos Ninja 5 currently accepts 8K or 4K 120. It takes 4K 60. So we don't have anything to go on there. But hopefully, hopefully that's something. 4K HQ sharper and better than A7S III. So if someone needs better quality, they should go with the R5 for sure. Yeah, I mean
that's really subjective to me though. I do agree that the HQ is way sharper. HQ looks beautiful, and that's the reason why I hate this camera. Is I just wish I could shoot HQ. Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
But I think there is something to be said there for the dynamic range and other things like that, where you can make a pleasing image. Yeah. It's not just, it's a sharpness versus image quality thing there.
The A7S III looks good. The problem is it doesn't look any different than the A7S II.
Different tools too. And I agree with you. I do wish it was a bit sharper and a little bit flashier than the A7S III.
Like if it was a 20 megapixel sensor and they were able to downsample like the 6.1K like they do with the R6, it could be way more compelling for me. Because I've had the A7S II. I've had that 12 megapixel sensor readout and it looks great. It's just that image has been around for how many years now? 5 years now? 4 years now?
Yeah.
You know, you're not getting much different of it. Maybe a little bit better dynamic range. You are getting the 10-bit now, so it'll look a little bit better. R5 has HDMI 2.0, so 4K 60 is the limit. Okay, yeah. So Sony went 2.1. That makes sense because I don't think there's any HDMI micro port that uses 2.1 because Sony has the full HDMI port, so it makes sense that that's 2.1 spec. So that's very fascinating. That's something to think about too. The biggest crime.
Thank you, Sony. Though, can I just say that?
No. The biggest crime.
Thank you, Sony.
Is Canon putting the micro HDMI? They should never be forgiven for that. That is the worst decision they've ever made. They should have kept them in.
I still want to buy the Sony A7S III just to give them money for fucking using the HDMI port. Yeah, a full-size HDMI. I wanted this on every fucking camera.
It's funny too if you see
it's the new flippy screen, dude. Every camera has to have a fucking flippy screen and a full-size HDMI port. Please, God.
If you see it too, it looks like they bolted it on.
I know. I'm fine with that, dude. I just don't want to keep using micro and mini, dude. They're so bad. The cables break always. If you have to use the clamp. And if you don't use the clamp, if you even like breathe on the fucking cable wrong, it will break your fucking HDMI port.
Yeah, it makes
You'll lose image. I just give me a full HDMI always.
Why did they do this door? Does this door come off or does it fold out like that? That's a little odd. Yeah, very, very big. I mean, it's a videography camera. It better have it. You know what I mean? It better fucking have it.
True. But
the A7S III is fucking an awesome camera. I mean, they're both
awesome cameras.
Yeah,
they're just for different jobs.
They're just different for different jobs, and I think the review consensus was everyone wanted this to be the A7S III when it's not. It's the 5D upgrade from that, which unfortunately now is more of photography, high megapixel frame, high frame rate photography camera with some good features, and then Canon's marketing on top of that did not help them. They need to listen, Canon. You need to fire who's ever running your marketing and who is ever talking doing any sort of product testing because they've done a poor job with this camera release. Because this could have been a much smoother release if you just said, look, it's a 4K camera, full frame, 1080 or 10-bit internal. We got this awesome new IBIS system, so anyone that walks with the camera, you don't have to worry about it anymore. We got this cool RF mount that has way cooler lenses than anything going on in the E mount. And if you slap a Ninja on it, then you can get downsampled 8K unlimited. But you didn't. You said this is an 8K camera. A professional videography camera that an 8K and it's just they did so bad on the marketing.
That though, and I agree with you that it was bad marketing. But I think I know why they did that, and it's because they kept making the comparisons that this is the 5D Mark II, and the 5D Mark II is that first camera that you could use for a movie, for a wide angle small shot when you needed a small body and you could just chuck it anywhere. And I think that was what they're thinking is oh yeah.
I still think it is though. I still think it is.
3 shots in 8K in a movie and it'll be beautiful. And you totally can do that. It's a fucking great use case for this, honestly. But I think they might still be stuck in 2012 there of thinking, cool, a movie's going to use this, when the rest of the world has gone to YouTube or other work, etc. Of like, well, there's a lot more people than just a couple of people are going to use it like a 5D Mark II in a movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think going after the 5D angle was smart. I just don't think headlining the 8K features made any sense, and it really just. I rather them just not even mention it and then have the reviewers or someone figure out like, oh, it also has this extra mode here. You know, you can't use much of it, but it's here. It was like they set themselves up for disappointment with the way that they released the camera. Now, someone like myself, like I know exactly what my use case is. This is kind of where I guess my own personal bias comes into this camera. I know exactly what my use case is. I know exactly how I use my cameras because I've been doing this for 5-6 years now. There's no question how I'm going to use my camera. So when I saw the specs and what it could do, I knew immediately this was a camera that I was interested in. The R6 was, but then I found out it overheated. So then I went to R5. And in that sense, it's not a disappointment for me. But if you're going into it thinking like you're getting like this whole sort of like basically a cinema camera down in a mirrorless body, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment. And I think that's kind of what they did with their marketing. It was just really they set themselves up to shoot themselves in the foot. And it's unfortunate, but I think we're going to see another EOS R situation where a lot of people are going to be like anyone that walks around with the camera and you don't want to use a gimbal, they're going to look at the R5 and be like, wow, that IBIS does look pretty enticing. It does look more usable for what I do because I'm not constantly shooting.
It's panel level.
Yeah.
It's great.
And like there's like this, I think a lot of people thinking like they're going to go on sets and they're going to start shooting like these little movies and they're going to go and they're going to have all these productions things. I mean, some people are going to do that, but for the majority that are looking at these types of cameras, you're actually out in the field. The camera's in your hand, you know, you're running around, you're doing like the vlog thing, you're shooting like, it's not a very professional sort of situation. And in that sense, these cameras become a lot more usable. That's where Canon really does well. That's why their M50 does extremely well. I mean, that's why Canon is still selling the best out of all of them. They have that like usability, playfulness about them. And then the photography side is amazing.
Well, I mean, also they still have like just the Rebel Legendary line or the KISS line. You know what I mean?
I spoke about it with Canon Rumors. And he said that the M50 is that's their king. So
I could see that. Dude.
I'm curious to see what the M52.
Especially once you start getting sales, that thing's like $500 all the time, and it's a killer camera.
I hate it. I hate the way the image looks, though. I think the image looks so bad.
There's a reason why I didn't buy that camera. I don't like it, but I could see why people like it. When it drops down to $500.
Yeah, it's $500.
Really good for that price.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. I wish it was EF mount. That would be a little bit better.
Same. The
M mount sucks. Man.
That is where I dog on Canon a lot, and that's my Canon hate basically of me who does shoot a lot of crop and went to Fuji just because it's like I'm seeing a lot of the rumors for a new top end Canon camera or like the M7, things like this, and it's just like, so you still have to use EFM when you're gonna release a camera that Fuji's had out for 2 years.
Yeah. Dad Talks Texas. Funny thing about the movie mode on the 5D2 was kind of an accident. They intended it to basically make comments on the photos via video. Wasn't designed for how it ended up being used. I mean, that's funny because that's how a lot of like these innovations kind of work. They're just like, that's how that kind of goes.
Well, but I think Canon was thinking, but this time we can do that. We have that. We're gonna throw the 8K in, and we have that. You got your like 30 minutes of here's a really cool use case.
Yeah.
And they thought people were gonna jump on that a lot more than I think people really actually want to.
Yeah, and I think and not only that, but I also think they underestimated how people use these cameras. It's not, you're not just showing up and then just shooting your 8K, because that's the only way you can really shoot with it. I showed in my review, I intentionally left it at the last bit to showcase like it's just like a stupid gimmick at this point because it's so unusable. Unless you show up and you're like, all right, I have to get 10 minutes of 8K, we have to do it right now, then anything you do is going to eat into that buffer, and there's just no point in using it. But it's like, I don't even care about any of that stuff. The 4K 30, 4K 24 is what I cared about, and now you get it in 10-bit internal with no crop. I'm a happy camper. I wish I could have said the same about the R6. That's the big disappointment, and I think that's where Canon is going to say, oh shit, You know, there's a lot of people that want this overheating thing fixed in the R6 because...
Hi.
Yeah.
Or just give me a Sony A7 IV or A5 or whatever. Just give me a fucking 24 full frame camera. That's all I want.
Yeah.
With a flippy screen and no crop. Why is this so hard?
Are you planning on Ordinary Filmmaker? Hello, brother. Thank you for the shout outs, by the way.
I just want a $2,000 or less camera that shoots 24. Literally just 24 and 30 in 4K with a flippy screen and autofocus. Why is this so hard?
Ordinary Filmmaker says, are you planning on any more tests of the R5 overheat modes with the Ninja 5? If you leave the SD card in, is there any issues or do both cards need to be left in? Great coverage. Thank you. Yes, I plan on doing a little bit more testing with it. I plan on finishing the saga with an episode 3. And from what John Gress, another YouTuber, has showed, that it may not be the CF Express card. It actually might be the SD card that's causing the bottleneck. So I'm going to check that out and see. I didn't really have any issues with my SD card, though, when I was doing some stuff. But I'm going to take a look at that. And I also want to take a look at some of the other crop modes and seeing if they're actually, in fact, just unlimited, if you can use the cards with them unlimited, because that might actually be the case as well. The crop modes look great because you can still get like the R6 crop look if you needed to internally without needing to worry about anything. What's your opinion on the mic HDMI in the R5? We fucking hate it. We hate it. Canon, if you were in front of me,
I already
Canon,
did my 5-minute rant.
If Canon was in front of me right now, I would be not nice to them about it. It's just stupid. It makes no sense why they did that.
I mean, I'd be cooler with it if people actually made better cables for it. But even like the nicest cables still have massive issues. And it's not even so much the cable; it's the fact that the ports break half of the time.
Yeah,
it's just no one's been able to actually glue that port in properly.
Well, Atomos has like a metal
connected
one
to it properly, where I'm not worried it's gonna break.
Atomos has a metal one, and it's like $70 for like.
And
I'm
still worried about it breaking.
Yeah.
Now the cable's better than the port.
Philip Bloom is convinced the R5 has a timer inside. Yes, I watched his stream on it. 3 hours
so did
turned off.
I'm since I'm a video person, I'm on Philip Bloom's side.
Yeah, 3 hours turned off. He still had only 3 hours 8K timer. What do you think, the heat or timer or both? No, I don't think it's a timer. I think it's classic Canon conservatism. I think there's a timer, and I think it's just set a little bit more conservatively, but I also think temperature does play a role because I can get this camera to overheat in like 15 minutes if I wanted to. And
again, that's not even the problem for me. That's not the problem. It's just it's the recovery time.
Yeah, well, that's what they're talking about.
If they could firmware fix the recovery time, hell yeah, we're on to the race.
That's what they're talking about in terms of like, does it actually recover in terms of time base or does it recover by temperature? And I think it's a little bit of maybe both or something's going on in there, but I don't think it's just the time. I don't think it's Canon crippling intentionally is what I want to say. I just don't think that makes any sense. Have I seen all the testing going on in DP Review? I saw their article about it. And one thing that Philip Bloom said about the cameras, he was kind of going off on like the idea of using an Atomos recorder with these cameras. And I understand the sentiment. You're going to buy something like this, especially like $4,000. You don't want to have to.
Armando had the same feeling.
Yeah,
and I get their point.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with their point of just like, they're in a world where no, I have a cinema camera. Why I want a good single body camera. Yeah.
Yeah. The idea is that like, you know, spending that much money, you shouldn't have to worry about relying on an Atomos like that. But, you know, I would argue if this camera just stated it just worked in 4K, 24 and 30, but you could also, maybe these modes don't even work. 8K internal doesn't work. 4K 120 doesn't work. 4K 60 doesn't work unless you add an Atomos Ninja. I think the sentiment would be different. I think people would be like, and this camera works amazingly with the Atomos Ninja. Because it's not like you have to use the Ninja with the R5, which is not the case with the R6, again. And like I said, I think the sentiment would be way different if these modes were like locked behind an Atomos sort of, or like external lock. Because then it's just like, oh, this is just a 4K camera that shoots really great stills. That's 10-bit IBIS. You know, it's expensive, but that's what it is. And then if you add an Atomos, then now you also get a downsampled 8K image. You get 4K 60 unlimited. You can use, well, that's pretty much it. 4K 120 is internal only. What do you think the first firmware updates will provide? I think people are kind of hyping themselves up. I expect Canon to kind of chew up some of that recording buffer, that recovery timer a little bit, but I don't expect it to be a massive fix. Just from the teardowns, it looks like the camera is just like cooking itself. There's no like thermal pads between anything.
They pulled an Apple, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I think they kind of painted themselves in a corner.
Where they didn't put a fan on the CPU.
And I'm wondering if Sony, because remember, Sony was having these issues until they added this thing where you can tell it to just like the temperature resist was higher on the camera.
Dude, if they added that, hell yeah.
Yeah,
that is a thing. Like if you could just say, hey, if you could sign a waiver basically and just say, hey, I realize I might not get 10 years out of this camera.
Yeah.
If I use it this way, that's also a different thing of hell, dude. No one's gonna have a problem with it then.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how long do you usually hang on to your camera? It's like if it's more than 4 years, then maybe you wouldn't want to use that a lot. But if it's like 4 or 5 years, I mean, I would turn that feature on all day. You know what I mean? And I'm wondering if they're going to go that route. I don't know if Canon will, though. You know, this is a very conservative camera company. Maybe they just start taking away features. That would be crazy too. Imagine they're like, oh, okay, you want to now we're going to take away.
Okay, we're going back to the days you can shoot 4K 30. That's it.
I feel like
4K 30. That's only mode.
CPU is not getting hot at all.
No, correct. Sorry, that my comment was made towards the fact that the people doing the teardowns. It's kind of this has happened in the GPU world too, where just the thermal padding just makes absolutely no sense and doesn't fully cover the actual sensor or the CPU.
Yeah, but
that was my comment, because the MacBook Air, for people who don't know, they just put a heatsink on it and not a fan, and didn't connect it to the fan, which also thermally physics just does not make sense.
Yeah, they didn't connect the fan to the heatsink is what they did. So it was just blowing.
So the Canon, that was my comparison, because Canon here, some of them have been good, but then some people have ripped them apart, or just like the thermal pad only covers half of it.
Yeah.
Why?
Sony CFA cards don't have that dense of data capability as the CF Express. You end up getting an Atomos anyway. The CPU is not getting... so are you measuring the CPU or are you measuring the sensor? From my knowledge, I thought it was the sensor that was overheating, and that's why there was such a... I think that's what they were saying in one of their press releases. The sensor itself gets hot and not necessarily the CPU of the camera. And I could be wrong, but I thought that was what was overheating, was the sensor. So if they could figure out a way to like figure that out, I don't know, or just like you said, like put the timer and say like you're gonna eat into your durability of the longevity of your camera. But I mean, I wouldn't use it all the time, but I would definitely use it. They should definitely put 240 HP or 240 frames per second in HD, and they should definitely add 120 in HD. The HD does look pretty good. If you looked at my video upscaling the HD to the 4K image, it actually looked really good. I know I said it looks fine, but when I watched the review back, I looking at it, looks pretty damn good. So it's not the worst HD. It's just not better than what you're going to get in the R, essentially. Processor is overheating,
which we also already established is really good HD.
Yeah. Processor is overheating, but the heat will negatively impact image quality. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I know they said that that's a problem with like astrophotographies. Like they have to manage the way that the sensor heats up to reduce the noise, and they do all this sort of like extra processing. It's pretty crazy, the astrophotography world. All right, last opinions on this camera before we switch over to the gaming side. I guess we're gonna skip the Samsung Note. Who cares about that stupid phone? Yeah, if you're a hybrid shooter, I highly recommend it. If you are someone who is going to invest in RF mount, I highly recommend it. Don't just start, don't get into the mode where you just start looking at a camera on what it can't do. You know what I mean? Because that's always you're always going to end up in a worse place than where you started off. Just take a look at what the camera can do, how it does it, how well does it do the things that it can do, and if that fits into your workflow. And that's kind of up to you on how that works. Like I said, I know exactly what my workflow is. I know exactly what I want out of my cameras. I know exactly what I need out of my cameras. And that makes my job pretty easy when I'm shopping for a camera. It's not a difficult decision. I don't need a I don't need to worry about basically. I need a camera that does everything all at once. But if you're in that mode, you know, try to think about what are you really doing? Are you on set all the time? Are you in hot climates all the time? Are you constantly rolling all the time? Are you constantly shooting B-roll, 60 frames, 120 frames? Are you someone that's not going to invest in anything else other than a couple lenses? Are you not going to plan on getting a Ninja? Are you not going to plan on getting a cage and all the other, like, you know, audio equipment like sound recorders, boom poles, lights, stuff like that? If you're not, then I would suggest that you look at like a lot of cheaper options, because this isn't the camera for you. But if you are someone that is going to think about
Fuji, then honestly,
yeah, you go Fuji. You go. I mean, any system is really good at this point. At that lower budget level, there's really just so many. Sony has like 1,000 different A6000s you could choose from.
Yeah, and I've been watching all of those rumors, and that market sounds like it's gonna pop off huge too, because you still already have
entry level full frame.
You have the RP on for the full frame's about to pop off, but you still have what? You have a Fuji. You can get an XT3 really cheap now. You can get an XT30 even cheaper. You still got
get
the
an
Canon,
R cheap and
Mark
RP
6,
cheap.
Mark II, the M6, and there's going to be a new one possibly if you're still in crop world. The 6400 still a fantastic camera. The 6100 still a fantastic camera. 6600, it's not my camera. I don't like it, but it's still a fantastic camera.
There's a lot of.
But then there's full frame rumors coming out the wazoo of you still have the RP, which is a not for me, but solid camera.
Yeah.
You have that new Nikon that for photos is a fantastic camera, honestly, for the price. There's Sony rumors that they're going to release a full frame A5 or something. There's Panasonic's got an S5 rumor coming out that for video sounds amazing, but no autofocus.
Yeah.
The cheap market looks like it's really popping off, and that's what's getting me personally to hold back of I don't think I'm going to buy either of these cameras soon because I also can't get my hands on them.
Yeah, that's another thing. Don't expect getting these cameras anytime soon. Even the A7S III. If you're not on that pre-order list,
oh, dude, you're
going to be looking at 2021.
In Atlanta, like, no. If you didn't buy one like 5 minutes before pre-orders started, you're not getting one for months.
Yeah. Unless you get lucky like I did. If you could get lucky, you might be able to. But you got to really be looking for them. And also, don't count out Blackmagic. Blackmagic is doing some really fun stuff.
For video specifically. Yeah.
Oh, Ordinary Filmmaker's giving one away. Go check him out. Go do. Yeah, I saw that. Make sure go subscribe to Ordinary Filmmaker. And thank you again, buddy, for the shout out. It was awesome. Hopefully, we can collab one day.
That'd be cool.
4K HQ 120 with audio and C-Log 3 would be good. Ignore the 8K. I mean, that would be phenomenal.
That would be good. I want to see that. That's what I want to see more. And we talked about this before these cameras came out. That's why I'm more in the A7 and 3 camp is I just wanted a mirrorless camera that has better dynamic range than we had in the last generation.
Yeah.
And if you if you actually just throw C-Log 3 on there, that looks really fucking good.
Yeah.
That's a really pleasing image.
The problem is
really
I think
fucking tempting.
The R5,
if the R6 didn't overheat.
The R5, I think the only way they're going to add C-Log 3 is in that raw mode, AK raw mode, which is useless. So that sucks. I'm just going to buy RF lenses only, no bodies ever until I die. Okay.
Hey, dude, that's what I did with the EF.
There you go.
That's why it's just like, oh, yeah, new Cine lens. I'm buying an EF.
Dad Talks Tech, love to collab down the road, but we'll need a beeper since we run a family show. Hey, I would love to collab too. I am going to be a father as well very, very soon. So I'll be a dad who talks tech also. So, yeah, man. Hey, you guys, this is where I'm at. We stream every Tuesday on our podcast. I'll be uploading a lot more now to the channel. We've been doing this for a while now. How many years now? 2 years?
Yeah.
And it was just like a side little fun project. I run another channel, DIY or Die, which is a vaping channel. And
I just throw up random B-roll clips.
yeah. One of those channels. 4 daughters. Yeah, I'm having a daughter as well, which is pretty insane. So, hey, maybe they can be friends. But yeah, we're gonna be uploading a lot more stuff. I mean, I have a lot of stuff too to review, and I'm gonna try to get. I'm definitely getting the A7S III, so you'll see a review of that.
I'm still on the fence. I probably will, unless Sony really blows me away with a 7.4.
Yeah.
Or something. I just want to become a Tamron ambassador, dude. That's all I want in life.
Yes, Jerry's a Tamron stan all of a sudden. You love to collab. You swear a lot, but not on the channel. I can tone it down. I promise. Or you could beat me if I slip up. I'm in Philadelphia over here, so it's hard for me to contain it. All right, let's switch over into gaming. Doobie. We're gonna bring Doobie on. Doobie is our gamer in chief.
Yeah, and we normally start with gaming.
Yeah, we normally start gaming, but we
just
knew
wanted
a lot
to give you guys the R5 because that's what we know you want.
Yeah, we know
that's going to be our lengthy thing anyway. So
we give you guys what you want.
Yeah. Besides the Epic thing, there's not terribly too much news.
The Epic thing's interesting though.
It is.
Interesting.
I want to fight about it because I know we're going to get into.
I do enjoy watching two terrible companies make me decide both suck, and I don't like either of you. I can't wait for you both to go away.
3 actually.
Yeah,
Google joined in and banned them too.
It's like voting the election. Which of these two evils do you want to win?
Yeah,
not really either of them.
That's a pretty good analysis of this.
Then Kanye Google swoops in and like, let me give you a third bad choice.
All right, a Nintendo Indie World Presentation Showcase Roundup August 2020. Oh, Hades is coming to Switch. Let's go, baby!
Hades not only coming to Switch, but the 1.0 is coming out, the final version, leaving early access.
Have you guys played Hades yet at all?
I have not had a chance to play yet, but I do know that some of my friends enjoy it a lot. I'm a big Supergiant fan. Like, I really love Bastion and Transistor, so I'll probably enjoy the hell out of this game.
Yeah. No, Hades is a fucking phenomenal game. I highly recommend you guys check out Hades. It's a roguelike, and it kind of infuses like it's just like its own sort of like roguelike. I haven't played anything like it, but it's super fun and great fun combat loop. And I just don't like playing it on PC. It's gonna be perfect on the Switch, so I'm pumped on that. Oh, what else we got here?
Looking at the footage, it was like, this looks like a game I would love to play on the go.
Yeah, it's definitely like that type of game. Yeah, Supergiant game. Rajan, I don't know what that is.
Raji, apparently I have a few friends that are like really into this. They've been like keeping their eye on this. It looked interesting, mainly because like I don't really know much about Hindu legends, like Hindu mythology.
Yeah.
So I mean, any game with mythology, I'm always going to be a big fan of. Then there was Spirit Fair, which looked cute, but not my kind of game. It looked like a kind of a customization management game.
Untitled Goose Game, they're still
Untitled Goose Game is getting 2-player co-op, which I think is perfect for that game. It's a cute game as it is, but being able to play that with somebody else actually sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah, especially if they add more content to it too a little bit. Because that's the only problem I have with that game is I wish it was longer. It's one of those games that it's a little bit on the shorter side, but it's actually really good, and I just wish it was longer.
Yeah. Then there was a Short Hike. I've seen a few people play this before. I guess it was maybe early access or was on PC.
Torchlight 3 is coming to Switch. The game barely works on PC. 3, yeah. It barely works on PC. It's such a disaster.
Hey, but to be fair, that is also early access. It might come in a year. Who knows?
Oh, okay.
It's going to launch this fall.
It's not good. I will say it's not good. I will say I'm not surprised by that. I don't know what's going on with that game. I don't know.
I saw that, and the first thing I thought was, oh, this looks like knockoff Diablo. Cool.
It kind of is, but it's like this is not like this is the third one is a way different version. It's really weird. It doesn't feel right. I don't know. They got a lot of kinks to work out. So we'll see if that happens.
It looks more like a mobile game than the old ones do, and I don't like it. Yeah,
it's like instanced like in a really, I don't know. It's a disaster, man. What is this stop motion animation game? Takeshi Hiroshi.
Yeah, it looked interesting. It was like a create your own RPG, but it was a game in which you play as a game designer making an RPG for their sick brother or something. I don't know. It looked weird. Probably won't play it.
Hypnospace. Any other ones on there?
Looked really weird. It's like an internet simulator. I don't know. It looked weird. Yet again, Card Shark. I'm not gonna lie. Card Shark looked kind of cool, but the developer, when he was introducing the game, had no energy whatsoever.
Oh, that's always fun.
Like, he was just like deadpan. We're thrilled to bring you this game.
Oh, well,
like, are you really thrilled? Fun. Are you? I can hear it.
I mean, I guess Subnautica cool? Like, would be the only. And Garden
Subnautica,
Story?
No. What I'm actually like the game on this list besides Hades that I'm super excited about is Manifold Garden, because it's a physics-based puzzle game. Okay. Think of like and a lot of the art style is inspired by, I don't remember the name of the artist, but you know, like the the art where it's like stairs that never end.
Yeah, the MC Escher.
Like
MC Escher.
yeah, yeah. It's very much got an MC Escher kind of vibe to its art style, which I'm a big fan of. So I will definitely be picking that game up, just because I'm really big into puzzle games.
Okay. And then Subnautica. All right, we're moving on.
Subnautica game plays like crap anyway.
Have you played? I've never played it. It looks so boring.
I watch people play it. It looks so uninteresting.
It does. It looks like No Man's Sky underwater, which sounds like the worst game ever made.
Yeah, that sounds pretty terrible.
Evergate looks
overall wasn't that like super impressed by this indie showcase. I think Hades coming was probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm pumped for that. It's so good, man. It's so good.
Just happy they're throwing more indies on there. The Goose Game update, that's cool. I want more of that, because that's what I've said before, is that's the key to Nintendo, just actually doing more stuff like that instead of everyone getting mad about a new JRPG.
I was really hoping the new Hollow Knight would be there. Silk Song.
Oh, right.
I really liked Hollow Knight, and I just want more of it. And it's been 2 years since the DLC.
Yeah, Hollow Knight's fucking awesome.
But I feel like when you're talking about indie games, like right now...
Did I tell you guys I played Hollow Knight? I beat Hollow Knight?
It's a great game.
It really is, man. I played it on Switch. I was just so hooked on it.
I think the week I played it, I had a week vacation, and I took it with me on my vacation. I think I played it like 30 hours that week. Yeah,
I went right through it. It's difficult, too. It's really tough.
Yeah, like I think like right now when we talk about indie games, I think like Team Cherry, especially with Hollow Knight, Yacht Club with the Shovel Knight franchise, and probably Supergiant. Those are like the three like
powerhouses.
Three big names where in an indie direct they're going to be either the opener or the closer. They're not going to be in the middle. They're going to be the big announcement, the start or end. And they're also like, I would argue that Hollow Knight could probably have a place to have its own spot in like a Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Not even a Nintendo Direct. They would put that into a Direct because it's such a popular franchise right now.
Oh, I wanted to touch on the...
But would people get mad about that?
I don't know. And this thing is like, would you want it there? Even though, like, I mean, we saw Yacht Club when they did the whole Shovel Knight.
I think they should. Well,
they did their own presentation. They didn't go through anybody. They decided to have their own Yacht Club presentation.
I think that would be like the kicker for like the epic Nindies Direct. You know what I mean? Here's a Nindies Direct, but it's the big one for the year. Let's have something like that. Lead it off.
And that's the thing, though, is like Hollow Knight.
Or else you'll still have people pissed off.
Yeah, it's not going to be a Switch exclusive. It'll be on PlayStation, I think. I think Hollow Knight's on PlayStation, right?
I have no idea.
It's on PC, I know that.
Yeah. I don't know. I do want to touch on the Horizon Zero Dawn port. Have you guys played that yet? I got it.
I have not. I'm nervous that it's like
you have a 1080?
I have a 1080, but apparently it depends on your CPU as well.
What CPU do you have?
Factors.
You should still be fine to play it.
I haven't had any issues. There was a couple weird things, but I haven't had any issues. And it actually
got a
feels
77K.
Great.
If you overclock it, you should be completely fine.
Yeah, you should be good. You don't even have to overclock it. You should be pretty good.
I watched
I can still play that game, and your CPU is still better than mine. So
I watched Code Carnage play it, and he seemed to have no problems. But I mean, the Digital Foundry video was pretty bad.
Yeah, there are some odd things, and I had this weird camera glitch that happened, but other than that, it did seem to be working fine.
You can tell that the lip flaps for like the syncing with audio was not designed for 60 FPS.
Also, I want to note, it definitely feels better with controller. I've been playing on mouse and keyboard. There's just so much you have to keep, be aware of with your left hand. The game's too
fluid, yeah.
Yeah, you have to be able to have buttons, like, just on your hand ready to go. Otherwise, you're like, wait, how do I fucking switch to this thing? And then you have to press, like, all these... I was like, I'm just going to switch to controller. It feels so much better. So I thought that was interesting.
The animations are still designed for controller. So when you move at this weird odd angle, it still feels fluid on a controller.
Yeah.
I've always played open world action games with controller, so I couldn't imagine. It would be like a complete... I'd have to remap my brain to it. It's like me playing Halo. Like, I'm going to play Halo Even the new one on PC, I'm gonna play with a controller.
Oh
Oh,
wow,
hell no.
I wouldn't go that far.
Hell no.
I wouldn't
Dude,
go
I'm-
that far.
But that's also because I was
learn my brain. Is
Oh, I
for
don't,
that
dude.
Game for Halo 3, like I can't.
hell no, dude. I'm totally playing that mouse and keyboard because I was that asshole who had the Halo version for PC.
I mean, I had Halo 1 for PC, but that was like 2002.
Yeah,
Damn,
I
it
don't
still
know.
felt way better.
Yeah, I think
And it was awesome because it was Halo 1 with the really good pistol, but it had Halo
my God,
2
the
upgrades, so
broken
you could
pistol.
still get like
it
you
was
could
awesome.
still get like the flying ships and shit like that, even though it was Halo 1. It was
Yeah.
great. It was 1.5.
Don't forget
dude. It was
that one
amazing.
also had the fuel rod cannon and the
Yeah.
flamethrower.
Yeah, no, it had like half of the weapons from Halo 2 and the vehicles from Halo 2, but still the ones from Halo 1. It was beautiful. That's the true real game.
Suikoden's spiritual successor is now the most funded Kickstarter game in Japan ever.
That
Yep.
headline was
Well,
hella
it's not
misleading,
just-
by the way.
Oh, is
It's
it?
not just the most funded. I think it might be the most funded
Kickstarter.
backed project that's not just a game, but anything that's been backed by Japan. I'm not entirely sure because the quote says it's the most backed project by Japanese people ever, and it's the 9th most backed in total for games.
Okay.
I'm excited for this thing still. Like, it's over $3 million now.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
So
Pretty impressive.
one star citizen supporter.
That's the thing. That's like the pitfalls of
Are they
other
getting too big?
Kickstarters does way in the back of my mind.
They're getting too big for their britches. All right. Analyst, Nintendo Switch will defeat PS5 in holiday 2020. I mean, I don't think anyone would debate that.
Well, also because there's been other rumors too that the Xbox price leaked at $600.
Yeah, we did see that. Yeah.
I have a feeling, because this is a Japanese securities firm that said this. This is ASEC, that they're specifically talking about Japan, where we don't even have to worry about Xbox. And I think, so you have a system that's in high demand, with a decent library, for a lot cheaper at holiday season, that versus like the brand new console that doesn't necessarily have.
I agree with this.
At
Yeah,
launch.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, it's
because of the
quote
library.
Seems like clickbait, but it makes kind of sense.
I mean,
Yeah,
to me, it's like a
it's probably
given.
true.
To me, it's a given.
Yeah, just it.
I bet you the
have a
PS4 I bet you the
$300 console with Zelda. You have Smash Brothers. You have Mario. You have another Mario. You're gonna have a
in the
Paper
middle
Mario.
of a pandemic.
I bet
where
you the
people
PS4
can't
sells
really do
more.
anything.
I bet you PS4 sells more than PS5 in holiday.
I could see that
2020.
too.
I'd probably see that too. Yeah,
PS5 for
have-
holiday. You got Miles Morales.
PS5 will have its early adopters, but with other companies and even like Sony themselves supporting the PS4 for 2 more years, even after the PS5 releases, I don't think those sales are gonna be. First holiday season, 1 in a pandemic, and 2, I don't think that first year is gonna be all that super successful for the PS5 while they start to move stuff over.
Right. Yeah, I don't think this is anything surprising. And yeah, the Xbox Series X leaked retail screenshot possible $600 ticket tag, which is oof, and in Australian dollars
To play Halo Destiny.
$900. Ooh.
Good God!
So you have to spend
Australian
$1,000 to play Halo Destiny.
That's
There's
a
making the R5 look cheap.
big price. That's a big price tag. I'm not
Oh.
sure.
What? Why? If this actually happens, though, like, rip Xbox, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
PS5 would have to come out at $700, which is possible, honestly. but-
I guess it could be possible that they go up that high. I didn't expect that. I expected them to stay around 5 at the most. But we'll see. I guess they're not really counting on selling that many this holiday season. They're going to wait. Ubisoft CEO accused of retaining abusive staff members if he found them to be talented. Wow. That's really not that uncommon, though. Amidst the news of Ashraf Ishmael's firing of Ubisoft, a fresh round of allegations hit the company that names another group of executives involved in serious misconduct aided and abetted by senior management. A detailed report published on Gamasutra. Ooh, I didn't know that was a name that existed, but that's awesome. Uncovers harrowing patterns of abuse throughout Ubisoft's internal operations. We covered all of that. According to a former senior Ubisoft developer, Guillermo prevented them from firing an abusive member of staff because they were talented and brought more value to the company than causing collateral damage. When the company raised concerns about this, they were ignored. At one point, Ubisoft reportedly rewarded an abusive employee with company stock for their performance. Yeah, unfortunately, this is not that uncommon. And it's not...
Just another week, another Ubisoft allegation.
Yeah. That's pretty rough. Well, come on, Ubisoft, get it together. Ghost of Tsushima is going to be adding co-op, which looks pretty cool. I want duels. I want multiplayer duels in Ghosts. That's what I want to see more than co-op. What do you think?
I think it's neat because it's not like this specific mode is something totally different. It's not connected to the story. It's what do you go? It's like one of the words I'm looking for here. It's a standalone co-op. So like even if I wanted to hop into this co-op, I don't need to beat the game to do it.
Yeah.
And it's great because like this seems like a fun idea for a game to have co-op.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I could see it working. I would like to see like some duels because I think the duels are free so fun.
And they're no microtransactions. And it's from what I can understand, it sold pretty well, right?
Yeah, it sold pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, I think numbers just came out with Last of Us 2. And I think it's like the best-selling title ever or something in PlayStation history. Hold on. Last of Us 2 is the third highest grossing game in the US in PlayStation history. So it's the third highest selling game, which is insanity.
I would be really shocked if it outsold Grand Theft Auto 5 or FIFA.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't say here in this article which is number 1 and 2.
Don't worry, it's 2020 and GTA 5 is still number 5 for the sold game of the year.
Oh, so it goes. Hold on. In the US, it's reportedly the third best-selling game of 2020, with Animal Crossing: New Horizons and Call of Duty: Modern Warfare still outpacing it in sales. What is number 1 and 2 though? That's not what I want to know. This means that only Spider-Man and God of War have sold more in the United States so far. So those are the two, of course. That makes sense. Spider-Man and God of War. And then right now, currently, it's behind Call of Duty: Modern Warfare and Animal Crossing in all the console releases.
Told you.
I'm still surprised Animal Crossing sold.
I am not.
Well.
I know.
I am not.
I am.
Like I know the fans were like rabid for it, but I didn't know it was going to be that big.
Yeah, it's crazy,
dude. It's WoW for casuals. It's like that. I'm not surprised in the slightest, especially when it came out perfectly at the start of quarantine.
Pandemic. Yeah. It was a perfect release for that game.
It's like Nintendo Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
No, but kind of. It's more addictive than that because it is time gated. So it is like an MMO almost.
Yeah.
And I know people that were addicted to Stardew Valley. Was addicted to Stardew Valley.
I was addicted to it, dude. That game was fucking great, dude. I love Stardew Valley.
But with this, there's more community aspects to it. You can go island hopping. You can go visit other people.
And there's like there's history to it.
I guess it makes sense because like right now where people are kind of starved for some kind of contact.
It's just so boring, dude. It's such a boring ass game.
Your friends' islands and being able to visit other people's islands.
Oh, and what? Look at a fucking flower that you planted. Look at a fucking sign that you posted.
You're not creative enough for it, then, dude.
I'm not.
There's some really cool shit people have done, but it is a sandbox. You're right.
I'd rather look at a Mona Lisa painting or something. All right.
I mean, that's fair, but I'm just saying, I'm not surprised. It's not a game for me, but Kate, she loves it. She's addicted to it. She plays it every day. Her our couple friends.
I'm aware. They
bought 3 fucking Switches and copies of this goddamn game.
I'm not surprised. It's insane. Wow. People love it, man.
They literally spent $1,000 on Animal Crossing.
I want Animal Crossing to add more fishing. I want more fishing and more. I want like hunting. I don't know. I want more.
They got the fishing. Did you play with the update, the deep sea diving update?
Oh, no. I'll go check that out. I might have to check.
You can dive in all of the water now. and go hunt bullshit.
I might have to check that
I mean,
out.
it's still
That
more
actually
just a little
sounds
time sink to me, but yeah. I could see why people really like it, and
I just felt like after a few days, I feel like I got all I needed out of it, and just like I was just doing more of the same shit.
Yeah, same. But that some people, dude, that it's
I get it, dude. I've still been only playing Path of Exile, and all I do is click around like an idiot. Which I wanted to talk about. So Path of Exile is going through like this crisis right now, which I'm pretty upset about. So there's a new league. It's called Harvest. The way that it works is that you have these seeds. You pick up these seeds, you plant the seeds, and these seeds turn into different crafting mechanics. And there was this whole debate: should Harvest go core? Should it not go core? The idea is that the reason I liked Harvest is because you could actually find deterministic crafts that you can do that can craft really good like end game loot without having to go through the thousands of hours it takes to get some of that loot, because that loot is going to be like, it's going to cost like a mirror, it's going to cost like hundreds of exalts. It's just so far in advance. But now it still takes a while. There's still a massive grind to it, but it's much more attainable to someone that's going to play 2 to 3 hours a day as opposed to 6 to 8 hours a day. And
fuck that, dude, get the fucking no.
So you don't want it to go core. You don't want it to go core. You're on the no life side where you want the
I'd probably be more on the no life side.
Yeah, I figured you would be.
There is already so much that has gone core that makes crafting in this game so easy.
I would disagree. I would say crafting until this point has been too much of like RNG gambly style, and now you actually have like an actual deterministic crafting system.
I can see the appeal
like
of
a good crafting system, basically, is what I'm trying to say. You know?
Yeah, that's fair, but I think there's been a good amount of that where you could already use the delve stuff and other items that would take time to obviously get, but you'd still kind of determine your craft pretty easily. Yeah, if you put in a lot of effort.
Yeah, and it was really the idea that
if it brought prices down, I'm not against that, but I've just seen how that aspect has ruined WoW in a lot of ways for me.
Yeah, that's where
the welfare purples.
The no life crew is basically the idea that it just destroys like
it's a slippery slope is the issue.
Like the whole idea is like the only people that should be able to craft like these mirror tier items are the ones that are going to spend 20 to 30,000 hours in the game, that are going to spend 8 to 10 hours every day playing this game. They should be rewarded with mirror tier items, and you shouldn't be able to get those items through any sort of crafted system. It should be just like only to reward those types of people. And now it's basically unlocked for anyone. You still have to it's a complex system. It's not easy to learn how to craft this type of stuff, but it does make it a lot more accessible, and it also makes it more goal driven. So I liked it because I'm not playing the game 8 hours a day. I'm playing 2 to 3 hours a day. And now I have goals. Like, all right, I'm going to try to hit this thing here, and then I have to craft this thing, and then I'm done. I'm going to move on to another character. That's just how I play it.
Go into the core.
It's not. Well, they made it. It's not going to go core.
Because all of the items are still going to go core anyway that people have already made. So that's already going to be a huge influx to lowering prices. Yeah. My thing of making that core that I don't like is it's what I've seen in that in WoW, for example, is the games like this, especially with multiplayer elements and stuff like that, you do still want those goal pieces or the grail pieces, you know what I mean? Of like, look what this dude made.
Yeah, now you can craft them. Now with Harvest, you can craft those pieces.
Right. And that's cool. Don't get me wrong, but it's a slippery slope of how balanced and tuned is that versus how easy is it to get that, where if you start chipping away at that item, it does decentivize some people playing that game. And this is like, well, okay.
This was the whole thing. The debate was basically like the crafting should stay. They need to rebalance basically dropping of loot, because basically you're not getting any good loot.
They needed to rebalance loot.
Yeah, it's just they need to rebalance some things, and some of the ideas of the crafting should stay. The harvest system, like the planting seeds, like no one really likes that. We just like what you can get out of it. But and I kind of agree. I'm not too upset about it, but I did like the fact that that I didn't have to fucking play 20,000 hours of this game to get some crazy shit.
No, and that's true. That's it's a balanced thing. I don't think you should have to play that much to get a mirror piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do agree with that, but I don't think it should go the WoW route of, well, everyone gets a Grail piece now, because that just ruins. Who cares then?
Yeah. And well, right now the sub is like split in two. It's just like a disaster. There was like developers crying over things. It's been a real mess over there. And I don't really care either way. I rather it stay. Just I like this system. I like the crafting idea, because I don't like the gambling aspect. I don't like loot boxes. I don't like RNG stuff. I want to be able to say, okay, I want this piece of gear. This is how I'm gonna go get it, and then knowing how to get it. So that's the reason why I like Harvest a lot, and that's why I've been playing non-stop basically. But I also am not opposed to just like an intense sort of the way that it has always been, where it does really cater to that hardcore group, and you just have to get there and pay those prices to get that stuff now. And this is a pretty good image that showcases the current crafting without Harvest, and then crafting with Harvest. That's basically, I mean, I have like 6 different pages up now when I play Path of Exile. I have like all these databases and shit.
Yeah, you're actually getting into the game now, so that's
I'm pretty deep in it. I've been pretty deep.
You've now learned how there's 3 different trading sites that are all really good, and you need a wiki open.
Yeah, I need the wiki. I need to know like which suffixes are gonna replace what. And that's what I liked about Harvest. Like made me want to get into that. Before that, it just felt way too grindy and way too RNG. And when Harvest came around, I was like, wow, I actually know I want to get into deeper these systems. And for me, but I'm more of a casual player, so I can see why the hardcores are just like, nah, it's just the death of the.
Well,
of the game.
okay, and I do, yeah, and I get that, because now that you've gotten into it, do you see that their side too as someone who knows all of those prefixes and suffixes? It's a cool fucking system. So
yeah, no, I understand. To see that
die
point.
does kind of is a worry, and I can see why that would be a worry to people.
Yeah, I understand their point. I understand it makes like the trading system.
They've built a beautiful system of like, this is kind of really cool.
I want them to
different ways it works together.
I want them to more balance the loot drops. I want them to fix the trading. I hate the way that you have to trade in this game. Dude, I just want them to fix some of this stuff
to the point where they also, I think they've slowly been working on this, and this goes with the balancing loot drops, but of just like, dude, I don't need to every map like open up a map and realize I'm going to pick up 3 pieces of yellow loot of the 10,000 that drop.
Yeah. Where you have to have some sort of like insane filter on, just so you can. I understand.
Of only this item base, only this suffix. Has to be at this eye level. Yeah. And otherwise, it's not even worth your time picking it up, because you're losing efficiency of just getting to the next map to get that actual good item that's worth something. Yeah,
and Harvest really kind of changed a lot of things, and a lot of like the hardcore players that play the hardcore mode, solo self-found modes, they're kind of just like, well, this made solo self-found like a lot easier, and it made it much more viable.
Oh, I can see that, but I feel 2 ways about that, because I do play solo self-found a lot too sometimes, and I don't know where I would stand on that issue.
Yeah, I don't know really play that mode.
There is a nice night. It would be nicer if it was easier to do that, but that's also part of the fun of solo self-found. Right. It is the RNG god game mode, basically.
Yeah. I'm curious, like I'm curious to know how long it would take in that mode to get something worthy, like a worthy sort of like end game tier. Yeah, basically you don't.
No, you don't, because that is the flip side of that mode, is you never go for. Yeah. It's more freeing to actually get into the crafting in solo self-found, just because you're not like, oh well, this currency piece is worth this, so I don't want to use it on a piece of gear. Right. You're just kind of like, fuck it, dude, I'm just going to use it on this good piece of gear. Yeah. But at the same time, you never go crazy enough, and you're never incentivized, or at least I'm not, of like, oh dude, I'm going to try to make a mirror piece for my solo self-found. Fuck no, I'm not. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to get good enough, go be happy, because if I put that extra effort in, hell yeah, dude, I want to sell it for like 5 mirrors and exalts. Like,
yeah, it's pretty interesting debate.
And then it's also still, I care less about core, if things go core, just because I never play standard. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you play standard?
Yeah. I'm very fascinated for the second one. I can't wait to see what the second one is. I've been really digging it so far. All right, Epic versus Apple.
Oh, and Fall Guys is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, Fall Guys. Oh, I missed that one. Fall Guys raising
I
money
just
for
saw
charity by making brands compete in a bid war to design a skin, which is actually a pretty cool way to do that. You played Fall Guys?
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's pretty fun.
It's the free game on PS Now.
Oh, nice.
But you need PS Now to play it anyway, so just they're doing the Rocket League kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, nice.
But no, like it's
I
fine.
like it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not in love with it, but I like if I got 10 minutes there, hell yeah, dude, it's fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what more comes of it. I'm sure they're gonna add some crazy shit to it. This is a cool way to do a fucking charity thing. I think that's great.
I think it's raised over
any bidding war is fun.
$300,000 so far.
Yeah, I mean that just sounds awesome. That just sounds like it's gonna raise money. Bidding war, hell yeah. All right, Epic versus Apple. Okay, Epic defies Apple's iOS terms of service by implementing two different payment systems. You can pay $9.99 to get what it is, which adds in Apple's tax, but then they also added the Pay Epic Direct option, which was cheaper, and it bypassed Apple's tax, and it went right to Epic, and then Apple immediately. I mean, it's so funny. It's just such a funny situation. And then after they did that, Apple said, "What the fuck are you doing?" They ripped it off, and then Epic said, "Hold on." They moved their chess piece forward, and they were like, "We're ready for this. We're gonna fucking sue you, and we're gonna release this 1984 commercial going after you with Fortnite players." Fortnite fucking cartoon of the 1984 commercial.
Whoever was behind all of this was just like, all right, this is how it's gonna go. We're gonna do this. They're absolutely going to do this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They knew it was gonna happen. With this. Yeah.
They're just
we're gonna try to win the PR battle.
And then we're gonna win the PR battle.
Yeah, they're trying to definitely play the PR battle.
Which I don't know, because I see a lot of people split on it. They're like, well, you broke Apple's terms, and then the other side's like, well, they're trying to fight for platform rights. I'm very fascinated by this debate
because I see it both ways.
Me too. I don't know where I stand on it. I really don't. I understand, like, of course, if I'm making something on an iPhone, I want all the profits to it. But also, I understand Apple's point where it's just like, wait, you're using our store and our platform, so of course we're going to get a tax of everything you do.
And I don't even think it's I want all of the profits. It's just Apple tax is noticeably higher than Google tax.
Yeah. And I mean, even if it's any tax, you know what I mean? Because Google did the same thing. They were like, no, you're paying us our share. Otherwise, we're going to kick you off.
And that's the most interesting thing of this is it's because they did both. And they knew they were doing this by putting in both. Because Netflix has been doing this for a while of just, you can't sign up on Apple. You have to sign up online. And if you try to open the app without an account, it'll just direct you to the website. Yeah. But they're not trying to do both.
Right. Yeah, they weren't violating the terms of service. They were just like, you just sign up for your account and then you log in on your account on your device. That's how they want you to do it.
It was an extremely aggressive play by Epic.
Yeah, it was hilarious. When I first saw this, I just could not stop grinning because it's so goofy and such an epic way to do it. But then Apple retaliated and they said, okay, bitch, we're going to take your developer account, which is going to put your entire Unreal Engine, which so many of these games that run on our platform rely on.
That's the PR battle right there.
Yeah, and now it's a big...
Because now you've got devs who use that engine, who have done nothing in the scenario.
Yes.
Are now suffering, so they're going to...
Now, are they going to go... Are they going to be angry at Epic, or are they going to be angry at Apple? You know what I mean? Like, where do a lot of those people rely?
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes, yeah, pretty much. The answer is just like, we're the little guy caught between the two giant bullies bullying each other.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, and I'm switching to Unity. Fuck both of you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're gonna have to. This is insane. Insane. It's just so crazy. Apple is never gonna give up this. I just don't. I do not see that happening. They have to go to court. They're gonna fucking spend as much money as they possibly need to ensure they contain full control over their app store. This is not something they're going to budge on. They make so much money in this area, in these services. So much of their business model relies on this. They're never going to do it. So I find this even more interesting that Epic knows this. You know what I mean? Like, they have big finance teams and big legal teams. Like, they know that Apple's never going to go for this. So I'm so fascinated by why they're even deciding to go down this route and practically put their entire engine that's on the platform in jeopardy.
Did you read the legal document that they put out?
No, I only read a little bit of it. Why? What? This is something noteworthy?
It was written in a way that even somebody who doesn't study law would understand it.
Oh, really?
And they did that for a reason.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
They did that so that people like could act like so that that's a PR. Oh my God, that's part of the PR battle.
Yeah.
Is we're gonna put out this legal document that's not. The verbiage is not in a way that people who don't have a law degree wouldn't understand it. Yeah. And when you do that and people like actually read that and they start to understand what's going on, it is
and we can't forget
wild chess match.
And we can't forget Microsoft is also in this position with xCloud because Apple took xCloud off because Apple basically is like, look, any games that you're running through your streaming service has to go through Apple. So either Apple is doing something similar to this or they want your store. If you're going to run a store through them, they want to be able to take a cut out of everything, which again, like it's like a business standpoint that makes sense. They're going to want every single cut. Now the debate right now is between monopoly. Like, does Apple have the right to own a monopoly over their own platform? And that's an interesting debate, especially considering
it's hard too, because precedents would say no.
Right, and it's
just because you already have the Microsoft Internet Explorer bullshit.
Yeah, and it just becomes into like a very fascinating,
which also is
conversation.
That's a second story because apparently you can't get rid of Edge. So hey, maybe we should sue Microsoft again.
This is gonna be, and the fact that Fortnite is heading this, like they're doing this in Fortnite characters, and it's just like.
Yeah.
It's a win-win. At the end of the day, it'll be a win-win for consumers, I guess. Like we're gonna get a real we'll get a real understanding of either where Apple sits or where the law sits or where Epic sits. So we'll have more of a clear answer.
The dev side, I mean, that's my most interesting. And is while you can argue that there's that precedence of Microsoft with Internet Explorer that needs jack shit. Honestly, for phones and the modern computing era, the last precedence of this kind of idea of walled gardens we have is from 1996.
Yeah.
So like that, I'm definitely interested in.
And Microsoft had like a clear monopoly at the time too. Like,
correct.
They were the only thing anyone was really using.
Correct. And this is a much more nuanced of you can buy other phones.
Yeah, you can buy other phones. There's other platforms. Yeah, it's a little bit of a trickier argument. We'll see though. That's for the courts to decide. The question is, are we going to get there? That's really the question. Are they going to spend the money to get there? I know Apple.
I kind of hope, dude.
I know honestly, Apple will.
For me, I hope.
I know Apple will. I don't know if Epic will because to me it doesn't make much fiscal sense for them. They already have the Epic Store. They already own They already own the Epic Store. I wonder if the same kind of rules applies on the Epic Store. Like if you were to implement some sort of like in-game currency in your game, does Epic take a cut of that in their store? You know what I mean? I would imagine not, but I don't know that answer. I don't know if that's the case. Because I know that's the case with Steam, right? If you were to charge payments on Steam, doesn't Steam take a cut?
Yeah,
in the Steam store, in the Steam, yeah. So this is gonna it's gonna be fascinating. I know that Apple is there's no way they're gonna give this up. They didn't give it up to Netflix. They had Netflix go through some funky ass route for that to work, and they just left it alone because Netflix is so big. I know that
Amazon even goes through that route of if you're trying to sign for Prime.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Or at least it used to. I don't know.
No, Prime you have to just sign up on their site, I think. Right? I don't think you can do it online.
At least it used to be. I don't know. I haven't re-signed up for Prime in 5 years.
Yeah. It was just, this is just so fucking crazy. So funny. So, yeah, we'll see. I am fascinated to see how this goes down, what the precedence is. I just hope we get there. I hope we get an actual record of law, of how this goes down, how it works out. Otherwise, this is going to be just, I don't know. Where's this money going to go? It's going to be millions. We're going to spend millions fighting this.
All for
I think
fucking shitty ass 1984 trailer.
And for V-Bucks. For some V-Bucks, dude. I think it was just so funny that Epic was just like, let's just add that option in here and just see what happens. What? You're crazy, dude. That's fucking great. Yeah, and then we have Microsoft. Like, is Microsoft going to add into this lawsuit? They could absolutely team up, right? This could be the same sort of system. Microsoft was very upset when Apple took off basically their xCloud system and said, it's just, there's no way this can work. So we're not going to use any, there's no xCloud on iOS. That's a huge hit to xCloud. That's, I mean, how many iPhones are in the US alone, you know? What's the market share of iPhones versus Android? And is Android going to allow the same system? I guess they have been, but it's clear that Epic's system is wasn't the case on Android. So we shall see. Good episode, guys. That's it for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Good show. Got a good audience. And stay tuned. Make sure you hit up our website, nolife.digital, and hit up our Twitter at nolifedigital. I made some sticky rice and some salmon, some honey glazed salmon. I'm going to go eat. What are you guys doing? You going to go eat?
Probably.
I already ate, but I'm going to go probably do my
taxes,
my casual stream.
Oh, right. Go check out Doobie's stream at Dr.
More
Doobie.
More Xenoblade. I'm almost, I'm at like the final couple chapters.
Oh, okay. Chronicles 2?
The first one, the deluxe edition that came out.
Okay.
Really relaxing game. Very relaxing.
Oh, yeah.
I could use some relaxing.
I'm going to watch the Capitals get knocked out of the playoffs and edit footage.
There you go.
I'm happy to see the Capitals get knocked out.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Now the Bruins need to get knocked out.
Peace.
Still hope.
Say goodbye.